The hollow screen flickered, casting a cold light across the command chamber. Rows of frightened children appeared, pressed against the bars of an alien containment field. Their wide eyes darted toward the camera, faces pale, voices hushed. Behind them, a towering figure stepped into view, Arch-Strategist Kaeldar of the Vair Dominion. His chitinous mandibles clattered as he spoke, voice a low rasp carried across the colony network. "People of Aegis 4," he began. "Your offspring are now in Dominion custody. Surrender your colony. Lay down your arms. Do this, and they live. Refuse, and their blood marks the end of your species." Gasps filled the chamber. Some officers turned away, unable to watch. Captain Elara Miles stood rooted, fists tight at her sides. She had endured sieges, orbital bombardments, even the sight of comrades reduced to ash, but never this. Children, locked in cages, used as bargaining chips. Kaeldar's mandibles clicked in what passed for a smile. "Consider wisely. You have until the next cycle." The screen cut to black. For a long moment, silence hung heavy. Then voices erupted all at once. "We have no choice. Open negotiations. If we resist, they'll slaughter them." Elara's voice cut through the noise like a blade. "Enough." All eyes turned toward her. She drew a steady breath, forcing her rage into steel. "Kaeldar thinks he's clever. He's wrong. If we surrender, we lose everything, our homes, our freedom, our children anyway. The Dominion does not honor bargains." Counselor Harvin, pale and sweating, shook his head. "You don't know that." "I do," Elara snapped. She tapped the console, bringing up files, Dominion archives, intercepted records, patterns of cruelty disguised as treaties. Every species that surrendered vanished within decades. Colonies stripped bare, their people gone. You think they'll let us live? You think those children grow up free under Dominion rule? No. They'll die screaming, just later. The chamber stilled. She let the truth hang there, brutal and undeniable. Her second in command, Lieutenant Imani, spoke quietly. "So what's the alternative?" Elara's eyes hardened. "We take them back." Gasps again, this time tinged with disbelief. Harvin's face flushed. "That's suicide. A strike into Dominion space? They'll annihilate us." Elara stepped closer, her voice low but cutting. "Maybe. But if we do nothing, we've already lost. Humanity doesn't bow to tyrants. And we damn sure don't abandon our children." Silence answered her. Then, from the back, a grizzled Marine grunted. "She's right." Another officer nodded. Soon, murmurs spread, agreement, resolve, anger channeled into determination. Harvin collapsed into his chair, defeated. Elara seized the moment. "I'll need volunteers. Small strike force, fast, surgical. We don't match the Dominion in numbers, so we'll beat them with precision. In and out before they realize we're there." Imani raised an eyebrow. "And if they do realize? Then we remind them why they fear humans," Elara replied. The council adjourned reluctantly, leaving Elara with her strike team. Maps of Dominion space lit the table, lines of red marking patrol zones. "They'll expect us to approach directly," Imani said, tracing a route. "We'd never make it." Elara studied the map. "Then we won't go directly. We'll take the ghost lanes." A young ensign blinked. "The ghost lanes? Those routes aren't charted. They're unstable," Elara finished. "Which is why they won't expect us there. Dominion ships can't risk it. But we can. Humans have a knack for surviving chaos." Murmurs of unease rippled through the room, but no one argued. Later, alone in her quarters, Elara stared at her reflection in the dark window. 34 years old, lines of exhaustion already etched into her face. She remembered being 10 years old, watching her home colony burn under another Dominion raid. She remembered the silence afterward, the silence of children with no one left. Not this time. The intercom chimed. Imani's voice carried through. "Fleet ready in 3 hours, Captain." Elara touched the comm. "Understood." Before shutting it off, she whispered to the empty room. Hold on, kids. I'm coming. Across the stars, Kildar observed the transmission logs. Human council chatter intercepted, arguments replayed for him. The strategist clicked his mandibles in amusement. Predictable, he muttered. Their emotions rule them. They will throw themselves into the fire for these spawnlings. When they do, we will crush them, and prove to the galaxy that humanity is nothing but a dangerous aberration. And Aid bowed low. And if they surprise you? Kael'dar's mandibles spread wide. Then I will be honored to dissect the remains of their courage. 3 hours later, the strike fleet departed Aegis 4. Only a handful of ships, stripped for speed and silence, sliding into the void. On the flagship's bridge, Alara stood at the viewport, stars stretching into lines as they entered the ghost lanes. She tightened her grip on the railing. This isn't about victory, she murmured to Imani at her side. It's about tomorrow. About making sure those kids live to see it. Imani's reply was steady, unwavering. Then we'll bring them home. The stars burned around them, bright and merciless, as humanity's defiance carried them into enemy space. The ghost lanes were a graveyard of broken physics. Fractured starlight stretched across the void, torn by gravitational eddies that twisted ships into wreckage if they strayed even a fraction off course. Human navigators whispered prayers as the fleet crept forward, shields trembling against unseen currents. On the flagship Resolute, Captain Alara Miles studied the flickering NAV map. Lines of red marked Dominion patrols ahead. The ghost lanes bent them around, but not for long. She exhaled slowly. Time to make the impossible look easy, she said. Her second-in-command, Lieutenant Imani, grinned tightly. That's becoming our specialty. The ship shuddered, alarms flaring. A field of fractured debris spun toward them, wreckage of vessels that had tried and failed to chart this path. Engines roared, and the Resolute slipped between twisted shards of metal. One hull fragment scraped past so close its scorched Dominion insignia glowed across the viewport. The crew held their breath. Then silence. They were through. The listening post loomed ahead, nestled into an asteroid field. A Dominion relay, small but vital. Alara studied its sleek geometry, alien architecture designed for intimidation as much as function. We take it clean, she ordered. Fast insertion, silent kill. The strike team deployed in dropships, cutting engines to drift between rocks. Boarding clamps latched onto the post's airlock. Marines poured in, rifles raised, moving with lethal precision. Inside, Dominion guards reacted too late. 2 fell instantly. Another tried to sound an alarm but collapsed under a burst of fire. Within minutes, the post was secured. Alara strode into the control chamber. A Dominion officer hissed from behind restraints, mandibles clacking in fury. His 4 black eyes gleamed with contempt. Humans, he spat. Always reckless. Always desperate. Alara leaned close. Where are the children? The officer's mandibles curled into a sneer. Why? You'll never reach them. Even if you did, why risk so much for hatchlings? They are replaceable. Her jaw tightened. She pressed her pistol to his chitinous chest. Not to us. Imani interrupted, holding up a data slate. We've got location logs. The prisoners are on Fortress Caraxes, Kael'dar's command hub. He's baiting us. Alara holstered her weapon. Then we'll bite. The officer hissed laughter. You are insane. To endanger entire fleets for larvae, your species is flawed beyond repair. Maybe, Alara replied, but our flaw keeps us human. Back aboard the Resolute, data streams filled the holotable. Fortress Caraxes, a bastion carved into a moon, bristling with weapons, defended by a fleet large enough to crush any conventional assault. A younger officer, voice tight, asked, Captain, how do we even approach that? We're outnumbered 100 to 1. Alara studied the glowing schematics. We don't fight their fleet. We slip past it. Imani frowned. Through the fortress shield grid? Yes, Alara said. They'll expect brute force. Instead, we get inside under their noses. Once we're in, we make enough noise to draw Kael'thar's attention while our second team extracts the children. A heavy silence fell. The plan bordered on suicide. Yet every face around the table, tired, scarred, human, stayed fixed on her, waiting. Madness, one muttered. Then louder, with grim respect. But it just might work. Elsewhere, in the heart of Caraxes, Kaeldar reviewed reports from the captured listening posts. His aide trembled before him. The humans, they took the station. Casualties total. Kaeldar's mandibles clicked in amusement. As expected. They cannot resist. Their obsession with offspring drives them into the trap. He stared at the display of caged children. Some clutched hands through shimmering bars, others whispered songs to calm the smallest. Kaeldar tilted his head, perplexed. Such irrational devotion, he murmured. It will kill them all. Back on the Resolute, soldiers prepped gear in silence. Weapons checked, armor sealed, breaching charges packed. The air carried a sharp tang of ozone and oil. Elara moved among them, stopping by a Marine polishing his rifle. His hands trembled. You scared? She asked. The Marine swallowed. Yes, Captain. Good, she said. Fear keeps you alive. But remember who we're fighting for. Those kids are waiting for us. And when humans fight for children, nothing in this galaxy can stop us. The Marine straightened, eyes steady now. Yes, ma'am. The fleet edged closer to Caraxes, cloaked in silence. The fortress loomed ahead, vast walls of alien alloy, weapon turrets glowing like suns. Patrol ships swept the perimeter, but the ghost lanes had carried the Resolute dangerously close before detection. Imani whispered, We're in their shadow. Elara's gaze locked on the fortress. Then let's become their nightmare. Inside the children's cell, 12-year-old Mara held her younger brother close. She whispered, They're coming. The little boy's voice shook. How do you know? Mara smiled faintly. Because they're human. And humans don't leave their own behind. On the Resolute's bridge, alarms began to scream. Dominion patrols veered toward them, sensors brushing against their cloaked signatures. Elara snapped. All hands brace. Ghost mode ends now. Engines roared to life, cutting the silence. The fleet lunged forward, carving a blazing path straight toward Caraxes. Captain, Imani said, eyes wide. They've seen us. Good, Elara replied. Let them watch. The Dominion fortress filled the viewport, a monstrous crescent of alloy and firepower, its shield grid shimmering like a living storm. The Resolute shook as plasma lances cut across the void, grazing her flanks. Direct hit on Escort 2! An ensign shouted. Hull breach, but she's holding. Elara Miles gripped the rail. Stay tight. Cut through their blind spot. The fleet darted between heavy guns, missiles weaving past their hulls by meters. It was madness, a human fleet threading the defenses of the most fortified Dominion stronghold in the sector. Madness was exactly what Kaeldar had counted on. Inside Fortress Caraxes, alarms blared as Dominion soldiers scrambled to intercept boarding parties. Kaeldar stood in his command chamber, calm amid the chaos. Let them come, he rasped. They crawl willingly into the trap. He gestured toward the central display, human strike teams breaching outer bays. Hold the children in the lower vaults. Force their captain to descend. When she does, close the jaws. Elara's dropship slammed into a hangar bay, breaching charges detonating. Marines stormed out, cutting through alien defenders in a storm of fire and steel. The air reeked of burning alloy and ozone. Clear! A Marine called. Elara stepped into the smoke. Her helmet display traced a route through the fortress, a path that led down, always down, to the vault where the children were held. She keyed her comm. Team 2, move for extraction. My team keeps Kaeldar busy. Imani's voice crackled back. Understood. We'll bring the kids out. Elara's squad pushed forward, corridors alive with resistance. Dominion troops fought with mechanical precision, but humans answered with grit and improvisation, sliding under fire, flanking with grenades, breaking formations Keldar thought unbreakable. At last, steel doors loomed ahead, the strategist's command chamber. Elara signaled halt. The squad reloaded, faces streaked with grime. She pushed the doors wide. Keldar awaited her, towering amid alien consoles, his mandibles flaring in triumph. "Captain Miles?" he hissed. "You proved my point. Your desperation drives you into my claws." Elara leveled her rifle. "You made one mistake. And that is? You touched our children." The chamber erupted. Dominion guards rushed, and her squad met them head-on. Gunfire tore the air. Sparks rained from consoles as rounds ripped through the chamber. Elara charged straight for Keldar. He intercepted her, claws like blades striking against her rifle. She ducked, rolled, drew her sidearm. Shots cracked against his carapace, leaving scorched dents but not piercing. "You are fierce," Keldar said, striking again. "But futile. For hatchlings?" "For them," Elara snarled, blocking a blow with her forearm guard. Pain lanced up her arm, but she pressed forward. "We'll burn the galaxy if we must." Meanwhile, deep in the vault, Imani's team reached the children. Shimmering cages hummed with alien energy. Mara, the eldest, stepped forward. "You came," she whispered. Imani crouched, planting charges along the field generators. "Of course we did." The Dominion guards fought hard, but the Marines formed a shield around the children, firing in tight arcs. With a deafening crack, the field collapsed. Small hands clutched at armored gloves as soldiers lifted them, carrying them toward freedom. Back in the command chamber, Elara and Keldar fought in brutal rhythm. His claws carved gashes through the floor, her strikes hammered his armor. Sweat stung her eyes, but she refused to falter. Keldar pinned her against the wall, mandibles inches from her face. "You sacrifice fleets, lives, your own future, for the weak. That is why humans will fall." Elara forced the barrel of her pistol against the joint of his armor. Her voice was steady, cold. "No. That's why we'll survive." She fired. The round punched through the gap, tearing into flesh. Keldar shrieked, staggering back. She fired again and again, until the strategist collapsed, ichor spilling across the floor. His last words rasped through clicking mandibles. "Madness, all of you!" Elara stood over him, chest heaving. "Maybe. But it's our madness." The fortress shook under detonations as human teams fought their way out. Elara rejoined Imani in a corridor lined with smoke and fire. Children huddled behind armored Marines, eyes wide but alive. Mara met Elara's gaze. "I told them you'd come." Elara knelt, brushing ash from the girl's hair. "And I told myself I'd never let you down." Explosions roared closer. "Move!" Imani barked. They ran, weaving through collapsing halls, Dominion reinforcements closing in. Dropships fired thrusters, pulling survivors aboard under covering fire. The last ramp sealed just as fortress guns turned inward, shelling their own corridors in desperation. The Resolute lurched free of the fortress's gravity well, engines burning white-hot. Plasma fire raked her hull, but the fleet rallied, covering each other's escape. One escort split apart in flames, its sacrifice buying the others a clear path. And then, they were through. Into the open stars. Alive. Hours later, on Aegis IV, families filled the landing fields. Soldiers disembarked with soot-stained faces and weary eyes, children clutched tightly in their arms. Cries of joy rose across the colony. Elara walked down the ramp last, her armor scorched, her arm bound where Keldar's strike had torn through flesh. The cheers dimmed when she appeared, but only for a heartbeat, then erupted louder, not for her survival, but for what she had brought home. Imani stood beside her, watching the reunions. "We'll be marked for this. Keldar's death won't end things. It'll light the fire higher." Elara nodded slowly. "Let it. The galaxy has seen who we are now. They know what happens when you threaten our children." Nearby, one of the alien allies whispered to another, awe in his voice. "Humans are dangerous. Not because they kill, but because they never break." Elara heard it, and a faint smile touched her lips. She raised her gaze to the horizon, where the colony's shield dome shimmered against dawn light. "Today we saved our children," she said quietly. "Tomorrow we save humanity."